Welcome everybody, welcome to Ask DFB. Normally this is the kind of show where you send in, messages to me and I answer them, but kind of an early show, so we're not really able to get any fan mail just yet. Fuckers don't like me yet. So anyway, I went to Reddit in their Dreddit page, which is their horror fan page, and asked the question, what kind of questions do you get from non-horror fans about your fanhood? Got a few answers, and I just felt like going over some of them a little bit. Baphochrist says, people ask him, why do you like that crap? You like watching people get killed? They're so cheesy and fake, how can you like them? You actually get scared? And all other sorts of inane questions from people that worship any big budget Hollywood douche fest, yet jump at the chance to tear any horror film to pieces. Why do you like that crap? I really don't think it's crap. It's the same thing as me asking, why do you like watching rom-coms? Why do you like watching comedies? Why do you like watching action films? Why do you like watching football? Why do you like watching wrestling? Why do you like watching... Actually, wrestling is a really good analogy here. When I was a wrestling commentator, a lot of people asked, how can you do that? Don't you know that it's fake? Yes. Of course. It's acted out. Of course it's predetermined. That doesn't make it any less entertaining. Horror movies, they speak to me because that's the kind of thing that I like. I want to see someone. I want to see someone triumph over evil. I want to see this really cool monster that I'm sitting there going, I want to get an action figure of that. Those are the kind of things that I love out of horror. It's just, that's what speaks to me. You like watching people get killed. I'll admit, the kills are kind of a big draw for me, but that's only because, working in haunted houses and working in makeup effects, you kind of start to build a little bit of respect when you see how much work goes into being able to do that sort of stuff. Tom Savini was a master. He's a genius when it comes to latex and fake blood. So from a technical standpoint, I really love seeing how all of that stuff comes together to make a really cool effect. From a storyline standpoint, that's just the kind of stories that I like to see. I like to see something of a supernatural nature. I like to see something that has a really cool monster in it. Because that's what I've liked since I was a kid, They're so cheesy and fake, how can you like them? Pretty easy, actually. The cheesy and fake, the cheesiness of them and the fakeness of them is part of the draw. It's really entertaining. When you can sit back and laugh at it, and laugh at yourself and really enjoy, when you can sit back and really enjoy something for what it is and know that it's coming from a place of love, which is really hard to find these days in film. I'd say that horror is probably one of the last places where you're going to find that. Do you actually get scared? No. Horror movies don't scare me anymore. Only because I look at them from a technical standpoint. Do they make my imagination go wild whenever I'm out? Like if I'm out in a dark alley or something? Yeah, just a little. But, horror movies themselves don't really scare me. Some are quite a bit disturbing, but that's not my cup of tea. Do I find them scary? Not so much anymore, but I'm still entertained by them. Yeah, that's pretty much all the questions that Baphocrist had. Welcome to Prime Time says, how can you watch that? Why do you like that stuff? What does your husband think? The question that Welcome to Primetime brings up that I really want to point at here is, what does your husband think? If Welcome to Primetime is married to someone, I'm pretty sure that they know and can appreciate the fact that they are a horror fan. I'm pretty sure that their husband is probably sitting there with them watching horror movies as well. If not, then more than likely their husband doesn't care. It's something that that person loves, and it's something that they enjoy, so their husband is going to back that up 100%. And if you have a spouse that really shuns your fanhood, really looks at the things that you love, and is saying, why do you still do that? Why don't you grow up? Then I think it's time for you to sit there and look at that relationship and wonder, is this somewhere that I really want to be? Because if that person is saying things to you like that, and is basically making you feel like crap over something that you enjoy, that's a load of horse crap. You shouldn't have to deal with it. Alright, this was a cute little conversation. I just want to make sure I'm reading this name right. I'm not going to say that. CalloftheQ. We'll say that for their name. Says, who introduced you to this stuff? Actually, my Uncle Al introduced me to Godzilla and monsters and started that whole love. My Uncle Bobby he was the person that I watched Jaws for the first time with, and he's the one who got me into actual horror movies. I went and watched Night of the Living Dead, the Tom Savini remake, by myself. That was the first one that I watched by myself, and that was probably a mistake because I was watching it as a kid. Why can't you watch something less gory or sexual? Actually, a lot of the horror movies that I like to watch are not gory. They're not sexual. Movies like The Babadook, awesome, amazing horror movie that is not sexual in the least. Well, there's, I don't know, maybe like one scene where it shows a woman trying to enjoy some alone time and her son busts in. But that's not meant in a sexual nature. That's meant to show further frustration in her motherhood. As far as gore, are there horror movies with gore? Yes, there are. A lot of them. But there are just as many horror movies that don't have gore. That don't have those horrible scenes that people, seem to think are in all horror movies. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, everybody brings up. Poltergeist didn't have, I don't know, maybe it showed like one or two skeletons, but that was only to show that they were living on top of a graveyard. Once again, the Babadook didn't have, I don't think it had any gore in it. Plus, a lot of the newer PG-13 haunted house or ghost movies that are coming out don't have a whole lot of gore. So just because a movie's a horror movie doesn't mean that it's going to have tons of gore, tons of blood, Why can't you watch a happy movie for once? I do. I watch lots of happy movies. I love Big Fish. Big Fish is one of my favorite movies. What Dreams May Come is a favorite movie of mine. Other movies like that really good movies that make you feel good, I like to watch them on occasion. I just also like to watch horror movies for the same reason that you probably like to watch something else. CalloftheQ says, I even got asked, so you agree with racism and the objectification of women? That comment kind of started a whole chain of comments. They go on to say, then again, this person is crazy. Michael 70Z says, I'm still trying to figure out why slasher films are racist or sexist. CalloftheQ replies, I chalked it up to tropes, such as lots of slasher movies that I've seen involve a lot of female nudity, or another trope that involves the black character dying first. And then Michael returns with, true, look at Scream 2. Okay, yeah. There are tropes, and they are there for, not for a reason, but they're tropes. But the thing is that I could name plenty of movies from the 80s and 90s that break these tropes. Plenty of horror movies that don't do these sort of things. Night of the Demons, sure, it had a lot of nudity, a lot of sex, but the black character not only did not die first, he survived. Spoiler alert. There's plenty of movies out there where that happens. The objectification of women. If they said something along the lines of like slut shaming or something like that, okay, I could give that to you. But the objectification of women, yes, there is nudity, yes, there is sex, depending on what franchise you're watching. Friday the 13th has a lot of sex, because during the 80s, 90s, and up to today, what are teenagers doing when they go camping? They're scrogging like rabbits, okay? They're doing drugs, they're doing all that stuff. Even if they're not doing drugs, even if they're not drinking, they're having fun some way or another, I remember being a teenager and doing things whenever we go camping. As far as the objectification of women, I don't know about that one. Does it happen? Yes. I cannot deny it at all. And no, I don't think that it is a valid reason to say that that was the age we were in, but that was the age we were in. A lot of movies during the 80s and early 90s had boobs all over the place. Comedies. Every comedy you could think of dealt with somebody being a puss hound. And there were boobs flying all over the place. It wasn't just horror at the time. It was every movie almost. CalloftheQ, agree with racism and the objectification of women in movies just because you're a horror fan. That's not true, for the same reason as I don't watch horror movies to be watching people die. I don't want that to happen. And if you really want to be technical, a lot of horror movies, the survivor is a female. The reason for that may be, it kind of falls into that same argument of the objectification of women, but only because on a psychological standpoint, we want to see the most innocent of us, the person that you're really rooting for, someone who doesn't deserve, someone who's innocent. You want to see them survive. You want to see them make it all the way through. Which is why, it's easy to root for children, dogs, and women in horror movies, because those are the people that we feel the need to protect. There's a social stigma where those three categories of people need to be protected. So those are the people that are going to make it to the end of a horror movie. I think that says Bintasaurus. Bintasaurus says, how can you watch stuff like that? It's disgusting. Is something wrong with you that one particularly pisses them off? Can't you watch a lighter movie? Okay, lighter movie, already addressed that one. Is something wrong with you? Everything that's wrong with me is not because of my obsession with horror movies. My love of horror has absolutely nothing to do with that. Neither does that have anything... That does not explain my love of horror. My love of horror came about when I was a kid. Because any kid growing up, any boy growing up in the 80s is going to love monsters at some point or another. And as we all know, I haven't grown up yet. Text on this thing is real small. It's hard for me to read it. It says, I don't usually get questions. Just statements of, I can't handle that, or I don't like being scared. Which is fair. It is fair. Maybe once or twice someone has asked me if I get scared, which I definitely do. I've already said, I don't, me personally. I just try to explain that I enjoy it. Just like how people enjoy riding roller coasters, which I hate, actually. LOL. I'm right with you there. I'm not a big fan of roller coasters anymore because I'm getting older. I can't handle that anymore. But that is a really good analogy. A lot of people, when they're scared, they don't like the feeling. And that's a natural thing. That's a natural instinct. You don't want to be scared. You don't want those things to happen. Some people actually enjoy the rush. Some people actually want to feel that, because not only is it something that get your heart pumping and get your endorphins going and really get you feeling good, it's also the fact that you can watch horror movies in a safe environment, enjoy those feelings, and at the same time know that you are safe. Viking 1976 says, when are you gonna grow up?
I hate you, Mommy.
Why would you know that? Apparently it's because I'm assuming that Viking is just like me. Love horror movies so much that they research the hell out of them, which I do. I know so much dumb knowledge about horror movies, and it's amazing. And I can see a lot of people ask me, why do you know so much about all these movies? Because I love them. Because I love them. They're my hobby. I love, that's my thing. You own how many DVDs? If only you knew. Bizarre questions to get from people. And just like I said before, I liken being a horror fan to the same thing as liking watching wrestling. A lot of people don't understand it. They think it's for kids. They think it's dumb. They think, or they think that there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with a horror fan. It's just something that they love. Just because you don't understand it doesn't make it wrong. Just like I can't understand why people like rom-coms. I think they're boring as hell. But I'm not going to knock anybody for watching them and enjoying them, because that's their thing. That's okay. So that's it for this edition. Thanks to everybody over at the Reddit page, everybody that I mentioned, for answering my question with all of the questions that you guys get. And keep in mind, these are questions that people are being asked. They're not asking me these questions. They're questions that I've asked. What kind of questions do you get from non-horror fans? Thank you to those guys for answering on Reddit. That is the reddit.com/r/horror. It's the Dreddit page for anybody that wants to join in on that fun. Also, you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/drawingfirstblood. Also on YouTube. Can't exactly remember the address off the top of my head, so I'll just pop it down right here. And thanks for watching. Oh, one more thing. We now have t-shirts up. So if you feel like, supporting Drawing First Blood a little bit, we have t-shirts over at Crojan Designs, tpublic.com/users/Crojan Designs. I'll also have that link down here in the bottom. So if you want to show some support for that, go ahead and run out there and check out that. Also check out some of the other t-shirts that they've got. They got some really good designs going on there. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Drawing First Blood or me, you could get a hold of me on the Facebook, which I said before. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.